welcome back. It is the Vegas Dick Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Wow, what a fun weekend of sports here. Of course, next week we got a big fight. Manny Pacquiao in action at MGM Grand. This weekend, NBA Summer League is winding down. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. And as I mentioned, on Monday, Kim Goldman will be joining us. If you recognize that name, well, she is the sister of the late Ronald Goldman, who was brutally murdered over 25 years ago. Trying to get O.J. Simpson on the show. I don't know if we'll have any luck with that. He's not doing a lot of many interviews these days. But Kim Goldman just started a podcast.
Well, you know what? Neither was Rick Pitino. We got him.
That is true. We got Pitino yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I don't want to compare Rick Pitino to O.J. Simpson. Last I've checked, Rick Pitino hasn't been charged with double murder before or been responsible from a financial standpoint. But anyway, yeah, that's why we wanted to invite Bryan Salmond from Channel 3 in studio just to talk about OJ
Beautiful
for an hour.
segue.
Yes. Yeah, we wanted to talk.
Segue.
That was great.
No, but from a media standpoint, I would absolutely want to interview OJ Simpson. There, right? You agree, right?
Of course you would.
Well, you would do the same thing. Come on.
I don't want to talk to him unless I'm talking
You're
to him
telling me.
unless I'm talking to him about USC football.
By the way, thank you for being here. Let me
Of
state
course,
something.
man. Of course.
You're telling me that if somebody at Channel 3 said, O.J. Simpson's available to do an on-camera interview with you.
Yeah.
No holds barred. You can ask him anything you want. You're telling me you wouldn't sit down with him and do that interview?
Why do I want to talk to OJ?
Well,
like if you want to become famous to have like a good interview and something that people will watch, there's really nothing interesting that O.J. Simpson could say to me that I'm like, you know what, I'd like to hear what he has to say about anything. Like, honestly,
I wouldn't focus on 25 years ago. I'd focus on the Palace Station thing that's more local here to Vegas, because I'll defend him when it comes to this, and it's the only time I will ever defend O.J. Simpson.
Sure?
We can talk about this, not the double murder stuff, which I do believe he was guilty of doing, but I don't believe, if not what happened 25 years ago, I don't believe he would have gone to jail for that Palace State. You agree with that, right?
Yeah.
So I would want to talk to him about that a little bit. I would want to talk to him about his time behind bars, friendships maybe he made, why he chose Las Vegas to be his home.
That is a bit interesting.
I would talk to him about that, and then towards the end of the interview, I would absolutely ask him about 25 years ago. And if he doesn't want to answer it, that's fine, but I would.
No, you can't do an interview with O.J. Simpson and not ask him about 25 years ago.
Yeah. So that's
you
why
wouldn't be doing your job.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
I
why
would talk to him about Leslie Nielsen, Naked Gun 2.5, the Buffalo Bills.
How much money are you raking in on royalties
His 40 in high school, and of course his murder quota that he has to meet at some point.
I didn't know he had a murder quota.
So
but
he's got to be far behind by now.
He's playing a lot of golf every day in Summerlin. From what I understand, he likes the wine bars up there. And
I've heard people always saying that, I saw O.J. Simpson.
Here's what I don't understand. I know he's a celebrity and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love taking pictures with people. I do. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's one guy I wouldn't ask to take a picture with.
Yeah, I'm thinking you don't have many pictures with guys. I don't know what I'm getting at here.
That's not true. I've taken a couple pictures with you. That's not true.
Yes, not many pictures with guys.
Well,
the Don Rickles picture is
in all fairness, one of our favorite friends on the show, Chris Wynn, definitely makes up for that.
That is true. No, but I like I said, going back to the
what are you saying, Jason?
Going back to the OJ stuff. Look, yes, I would love to be able to sit down and talk to him. Do I think he's a double murderer? Absolutely, 100%. Do I think he is a horrendous human being? If he is a human being, yes, absolutely. Does he belong behind bars? Yes, absolutely. Nothing to do with the Palace Station stuff. Everything to do with what happened 25-plus years ago. But Kim Goldman will be joining us on Monday. She just started a podcast. She wants to sit down with OJ face-to-face.
Wow.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. But she started a podcast, and we'll talk to her about it. I can't imagine the pain that family has gone through over the years.
Cannot imagine.
And now she sees O.J. Simpson on Twitter saying he wants to get even with people, and he's making these ridiculous tweets and making these videos about how he never doesn't have a Kardashian as his daughter and all this other stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, dude, just go away. Just go away. Play your golf every day and just go away.
For some time now, the public has wanted O.J. Simpson to go sit down somewhere.
Just go away. You're
Please
out of jail.
Go sit down somewhere, man.
Be with your family or whatever it is you do. Play golf every day. Just stay off of Twitter and just go away because I don't think many people want to hear about your golf and all that other stuff.
Which is why I would have no interest in sitting down and talking to him. But if you did that interview, that would be a great interview.
Well,
I know it would be a good interview.
I don't know if it's going to happen. He certainly wouldn't make any money for doing it. That's for sure. I'm sure he would want some, but that would go to the Goldmans anyway because they have that financial lien on him from being responsibly liable for Ronald Goldman. Absolutely, they have that lien that is a lifetime lien on him. Absolutely, any money that he earns. A percentage of that has to go to the Goldmans,
except for his football retirement, right?
That I'm not sure of. You might be right on that. I'm not sure on that. But anyway, we didn't have you come in here to talk about O.J. Simpson, but
Bryan Salmond to O.J.
But hey, I did announce we have Freddie Roach coming in, the Hall of Fame trainer on Wednesday.
Yes.
It was maybe 10 years ago where I hadn't even been to a boxing fight in my life, and you said, "Hey man, you got to check it out." And I said, all right. Went to some Mayweather fights. I had a good time. It was fun. I still have more of a big passion for basketball and a few other sports as well. But don't get me wrong, going to these fights is fun. I don't like the UFC. I never enjoyed watching the UFC. I do enjoy watching some of these fights. So we got a big one, Thurman and Pacquiao. Yeah. Manny Pacquiao back in the ring again. How old is Manny Pacquiao, by the way?
I believe he's 40. I believe Manny's 40.
Are you surprised
Floyd
he's still fighting?
41. I am surprised he's still fighting, but I'm surprised that he's still like a good fighter.
He's a really good fighter.
Yeah, he's still good.
I mean, he just beat the absolute crap out of Adrian Broner.
Yes.
He wasn't even close.
And Adrian Broner is a bum. I don't know if I missed words there, but yeah, he beat Adrian Broner pretty badly. If he can make Keith Thurman look like Adrian Broner, then Manny Pacquiao is still the man, the myth, the legend.
What do you think? Do you think he could cross over Floyd Mayweather?
Oh man!
No, Floyd's not in shape right now. Not to mention that not to say that he couldn't get in shape.
Single tear. Yeah. Anytime I think of that, I just had a conversation on Instagram with Wink Adams about the Floyd Mayweather crossover.
Our boy Wink, who played for Lon Kruger,
yes.
Was on that Sweet 16 team as a freshman. Wink's a friend of mine as well. He plays ball out here, and Wink's a great guy.
He's a very good guy. And Wink actually just moved back to Houston, Texas. Of course, he's from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so he hit me on Instagram because I did Floyd Mayweather's crossover on the air the other day, and I posted the video from that. And
let me ask you about Floyd, because I know you know Floyd a lot better than I do. He knows me probably for the wrong reasons, but obviously he's going to go down as one of the best defensive fighters of all time, probably the best self-promoter of all time. You would probably, next to Muhammad Ali, you'd probably agree with that. But as far as some of the stuff he's done outside the ring, I think I've seen him. I think he's got like bipolar disorder because I've seen him do so many nice things for people, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after one of his fights, I've seen him sit down and sign autographs and take pictures for 2 hours. He's donated plenty of money to charity.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the way he deals with fans, and he is usually very, very good with fans and the media for the most part, by the way. But
media that he likes, for sure.
Yeah, well, in a way, I kind of understand that, but then you hear about these other things like the domestic violence stuff and some of these idiotic things he says a week or two before a fight to get his name out there, which he's done in the past. I think we all could agree you put your hands on a woman, that's one of the worst things you could do in life.
Yeah, the whole domestic violence is not a good thing.
But he never apologized. In fact, he blamed her for it. He said she was on drugs, and he was defending himself and trying to hold her down. Never did he ever apologize, even though he was convicted in a court of law. He is a felon. He went to jail.
Was it a felony? I don't think it was a felony.
Well, I thought it was, JD. Was it not?
I know he was in county jail. I don't think he went. But it could have been. I don't know.
He's got 30 days in the slammer.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a felony, but
he definitely spent some time behind bars for striking a woman.
Yeah. Came back with the goatee.
I remember that. No, but I mean, it's really hard to respect somebody like that as a human being. Well, I
don't think anyone's a fan of anyone hitting, like a woman. If you're a man, you're not a fan of a man hitting a woman. And if you're not a fan of women hitting men, I mean,
same thing.
Honest. Yeah, no one's a fan of that. So you can't. But to me, I separate all that. Like I don't look to someone like that for my moral compass. I don't look to another man for my moral compass.
I understand that, and nobody's
I just look at him as an athlete. As far as his athletic ability is concerned, I talk about that. As far as like his personal life and everything else, like didn't always fight
the best when they were at their best. And I'm not totally going to blame him for the fact that him and Manny Pacquiao did not get in the ring sooner. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But with that being said, yes, I don't blame him for the fact that in his generation there weren't as many great fighters as there were, say, in the 80s, for example. I don't blame him for that. But I do blame him in a sense for not taking more of an aggressive initiative, because if he wanted to, he could have gotten into the ring with Manny Pacquiao sooner. He chose not to do that. I think there was yes, absolutely. And I think there's a reason for that. Because even though I do think most likely if they both fought in their prime, Mayweather probably would have won that fight. I think it would have been a much closer fight.
I completely disagree with that. I think that, that if they fought in their prime, I don't think it's even close. That Floyd washes
You think Floyd
him.
would destroy him?
I think he washes him. Because, Floyd was older. Remember, Floyd's older than Manny Pacquiao. So, he was older when they fought. I think Manny was in his 30s. Floyd was like 39, maybe, I don't know, maybe 39 years old or something like that. But, but Floyd was he was past his prime. Manny was past his prime, so it made the fight somewhat equal in a sense. But he was done. Like, Floyd just wanted the paycheck. But as far as him not fighting Manny Pacquiao, Manny didn't want to fight him because of...
I said it goes both ways.
But it was... Manny Pacquiao was knocking guys out, and a lot of people that are in boxing thought that he was doing something, he was juicing, so to speak. So...
We'll never know the truth.
Yeah, you never know the truth. So, and then Bob Arum, whom we've had this conversation before, Bob Arum and Floyd did not do business. They did not like each other. That's putting it lightly. So there was always that clash between those two and trying to get the fight. Right. And I'm glad they did fight, but the fight wasn't all that great. I just watched it probably like about 3
Not
weeks
all that
ago, honestly.
great. You want to talk about the biggest disappointment in the history of boxing? You have to admit that fight was it. It was atrocious. I lost a little bit of respect for Manny Pacquiao for this reason. After the fight, he talked about the shoulder injury. Don't talk about the injury at all. If you should have postponed the fight, then you should have postponed the fight. Don't talk about an injury after the fight. If you wanted to bring it up before the fight, okay, fine. We'll listen to what you have to say. But don't talk about it after the fight, because if he won the fight, I guarantee you he wouldn't have spoke about his injury.
No, you don't do that.
Yeah, I thought that was classless. Look, Pacquiao's done so many great things for so many people, especially in his country in the Philippines. He has helped so many people. Seems like a really good dude that has helped a lot of people. Unlike Floyd Mayweather, he's never gone to jail. He's never put his hand on a woman. He's had some issues with his wife, and there was some speculation that he had cheated on his wife, and that's when he turned to religion and all that sort of thing. But anyway, regardless of that, cheating is not breaking the law.
It is not.
No,
I don't believe so.
No,
I don't think so.
No,
is it?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
JD, is it? I don't know.
Cheating's not against the law, is it?
I don't think it is either.
Okay, good.
I really don't know, though.
Just checking on that one. No, but anyway, so Manny Pacquiao fighting Thurman next weekend at MGM Grand. What do you think about this fight?
I'm pumped about this fight. Keith Thurman is undefeated. He's the champion. He's younger. He's in his prime still. Manny Pacquiao, 40 years old, but he still has that pop. He still has good movement. He's quick. That's wild that he can still fight after getting knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez. How he's come back. Because usually knockouts like that end guys' careers. You know what I mean?
And those Marquez-Pacquiao fights, I went to 2 of them, by the way. Those were really good fights.
Yes.
Those were fun to watch. I remember when he was knocked out, when he got knocked out. Were you there? I was at that fight.
I was not at that. I was at Marquez-Manny.
It was a crazy moment, and that was also at MGM Grand. So he gets knocked out with, I think, 2 seconds left to go in the round. Just lowered his guard a little bit, and his wife is 10 feet away.
That's right.
She is crying because – keep in mind, you never know what exactly transpires when somebody gets knocked out, okay?
And the way he got knocked out, too.
He was motionless for 30 seconds.
Yes.
His wife is standing there going ballistic, which I understand completely because you never know. Listen, it was a scary situation, and you're right. He came back from that, and he's done pretty well since.
It's odd to me. Like, guys usually their careers end.
Yeah.
Think about Ricky Hatton. Think about guys that when they get knocked out like that,
they're never the same.
No, they're not the same. Not even close. But he's come back to be a heck of a fighter. Manny's I enjoy Manny. Matter of fact, I was just looking at pictures. I don't know if you know Raymond Spencer. He's a photographer, local photographer here. He's a Brit. And he took a picture of me interviewing Manny Pacquiao probably 12 years ago. And just a big smile on his face. And that was like one of the first times I had met Pacquiao, and it just made me think about like how long he's been in the game and just how nice of a guy he is to deal with.
He's been doing it a long time.
Yes.
And we'll have his trainer, Hall of Fame trainer, also a guy who's very classy individual and pretty honest. And we love having him on. Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach will be joining us on Wednesday. And, of course, that fight will be a week from Saturday. As far as heavyweights, we had a pretty big fight in Vegas several weeks back.
Oh, yeah.
We did, but
the Gypsy King.
Yeah, that was fun. But so are you surprised that Pacquiao's fighting at MGM? Are they not selling enough tickets to have it at like a T-Mobile?
You know what? That's a good question. I am a little bit surprised, but I think they wanted to make it seem as if it's cozy and that, it's sold out.
It's a great place to see a fight.
No,
I love watching fights at MGM.
Of course, yeah. Like all those big fights were at MGM Grand Garden Arena.
Sure.
But it is somewhat surprising. It's because Keith Thurman, whom is the champion, whom is the guy who people should go to watch, isn't a draw. Manny Pacquiao, despite everything that he's gone through, he's still the number 2 draw in the sport. Right behind Canelo.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, no question.
40 years old.
It's cool, though, that we are talking a little bit about boxing because in the last several years, I haven't done a lot of it because there haven't been a lot of huge mega fights. Of course, Canelo, every time Canelo comes to town, it's a huge fight, right? The last really huge fight that I went to was Canelo Triple G. That was a huge fight. That was the big one, and we hope
this year, in May.
Yes, so that was the huge one. We need more of those in the sport of boxing, but let's switch topics here quickly. Let's talk a little NBA Summer League before we get to the actual NBA trades and acquisitions. I want to get to that in the next segment with you. Yeah, it's been nuts. But before we get to that, obviously, if you're just joining us, Bryan Salmond, Channel 3 sports anchor, you've been covering NBA Summer League all week. Give me some moments, some people that you've talked to. Some interesting experiences, and then we'll take some phone calls at 257-5396. Again, that number of the call if you want to be a part of the program and ask Mr. Bryan Salmond a question.
Oh, Mr.
Yes, that's right. Give us a buzz.
Very formal.
257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. We talk a little boxing. We're talking NBA Summer League. We'll take your questions. Again, 257-5396.
Yeah, we even talked O.J. Simpson. But anyway, I digress. No, the NBA Summer League, like I know, man, I love the NBA Summer League. There's nothing like going over there to watch the guys that you just saw in college to kind of see like how they play in the NBA setting. And as you said, you can just walk around. You can see everybody. There's so many people walking around. It's crazy. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Probably the most interesting thing that had happened to me over at the NBA Summer League was the earthquake. I'm like, man, I was there for that Zion Williamson game.
So I want to ask you about this. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know you were there. So were you in the Thomas and Mack?
I was in the Thomas and Mack. It was during that game.
Holy smokes. Okay, so you're there.
Yes.
Explain to me exactly where you're standing.
Well, I was sitting in the stands.
You were in the stands.
Yes.
Okay.
If you come in from the side from the Cox Pavilion, you walk straight down. Yeah. I'm to your right, probably 10 rows up, sitting right behind and having a conversation with Trae Young's father.
Okay, I want to continue this story, but before I do, let's take a quick call. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're on with Bryan Salmond. What's going on?
Hello, gentlemen. How you doing, Brian?
What's going on, Ron?
Doing good, Ron.
This is Ron the Patriot. I call you guys once in a while.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, this Pacquiao, he pissed me off when he had that bad shoulder because I had $100 bet on him.
He should have disclosed it.
That he fought injured. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that was not cool.
Never fight in Vegas again because that fight was a fix.
You know what, Ron?
Ron, because it cost you $100.
If I had known he had a bad shoulder, I'd have bet on the other guy, wouldn't you?
Well, of course. That was inside information, Ron. You bring up a very valid point. It should anger.
It was a fish. He should never fight in Vegas or the United States ever again.
Listen, Ron, I don't necessarily. First of all, let me say I understand where you're coming from. You're not the only person that feels that way, and I appreciate the call. Brian, do you understand where he's coming from?
Oh, yeah, I do understand where he's coming from, and I believe that Manny Pacquiao had a suit from some bettors like yourself that wanted to sue him for that very thing. And after that fight, he didn't fight in the United States for, I want to say, 4-5 years almost, 3 years.
He took a break from fighting here. Yeah. People forget, but yet they don't forget. Ron remembers his Benjamin flushed down the toilet.
Yes, you should have bet on Floyd anyway, though.
Okay, so let's go back. Well, yeah, I agree with that.
He wasn't going to lose that
Let's
fight.
Go back to what you were just saying. So you're speaking to one of Trae Young's family members. His father. Yeah. You're sitting in the Thomas and Mack Center. And what happens next?
Well, mind you, I'm originally from California in the Bay Area, so I've been through earthquakes before. I've even been through one up in Seattle. So, So I'm sitting there, and I can feel the Thomas and Mack literally shaking back and forth. I'm like, man.
It's crazy.
It's not like there's not a band playing or something like that. And immediately I was like, you know what? We're having an earthquake. This is crazy. So I look up to check and see what's going on.
So you knew right away it was an earthquake.
Oh, I could feel it was an earthquake. I was like, goodness gracious. I look up to make sure there's nothing above me that can fall on my head.
What happens in the game? Did the players stop?
No, they're still playing. They don't know that an earthquake has happened. They have no idea that an earthquake has happened. Mind you, folks, if you want to see some video, I shot some video on my phone. I put it on my Instagram page of right after the earthquake where you can see the scoreboard shaking back and forth. It's BRYAN, Bryan News 3LV. Just go there and check it out if you can. But I digress. The scoreboard was shaking above the floor.
I saw a video of that.
It was swaying back and forth. The big speakers that are up there were swaying back and forth.
Did people in the stands, like you said you knew it was an earthquake, what were people in the stands? How were they reacting?
Probably 10 seconds. People were like, oh, my God. They could tell there was an earthquake. That's what
Because there was an earthquake the day before.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Trae Young's dad gets up, walks down to the floor to go get his son to get out of there. Some people start walking up the stairs to our right. Folks,
that's scary.
Yeah, folks,
because you don't know what a building is going to do, right? You never know.
No.
So I was in a comedy club at the Stratosphere.
You're at the Strat?
And that was really scary. So the comedy club is shaking back and forth for probably 20 seconds at least.
It seemed like a while.
I was freaking out. The people I brought were freaking out. And again, when you're in your home and you're not on like a high rise, you feel a little more safe, right?
Yes.
But when you're in a huge building
especially
like the Thomas
Strat.
and Mack, right, or the Strat,
man,
there's a lot of uneasiness because these buildings here are not used to going through that type of duress, right? So you never know what's going to happen. Okay, so we're talking 30 seconds after you said people were going up the stairs.
Yeah.
What next?
So they stopped the game, and they got the guys off the court, and then Warren Legary is standing in the middle of the
head of the NBA Summer League, who joined us in studio last week.
Yeah, co-founder of it. So he's sitting there looking up at the scoreboard to see what's going on. Mind you, it's still swaying back and forth because, it's a huge scoreboard.
Right.
He had the players go back to the locker room, and then probably 10, 15 minutes later, they called the game. They're like, we're not going to play any more games. We're going to the games are done in the Thomas and Mack for good.
I don't think you were in Vegas when this happened, but in a way, it kind of reminds me, even though completely different circumstance. I remember I was at USA Basketball.
Okay.
Mike Krzyzewski was coaching the team, and this was at the Thomas and Mack Center. It was sold out. Okay.
No, I wasn't there.
Paul George takes the ball to the basket. His leg literally rips in half. It literally rips in half. I was about 20 feet away. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And then Kevin Durant, okay, all these guys. Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, these guys are crying.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just upset like they just lost a game, okay? Like they just lost a loved one. They are crying. Niagara Falls, at least 7 or 8 players were emotional. And Mike Krzyzewski takes the microphone. You could have heard a pin drop in the Thomas and Mack Center. Keep in mind, again, it was sold out. He takes the microphone and he says, "We appreciate all your support. We're going to have to cancel the game." And, of course, nobody's like, "Oh, come on." Everyone's like, well, of course they understand.
Yeah.
And that was like an eerie, weird feeling. Like, what is going on here? And the only reason why I bring that story up is because the Thomas and Mack NBA Summer League, national television, right?
It was sold
That's
out.
what I'm saying.
Zion Williams and RJ Barrett.
That's what I'm saying. National television, right? And the game is canceled.
Yes.
It's like an eerie feeling, right?
It was odd. The only thing that was good for ESPN and the Summer League at that point in time, I can still remember. It was 80-74 in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. So, and Zion Williamson had been taken out because he only played the first half of that game, so he hadn't played.
JD, can you give your story real quick about what happened to you?
Well, I was standing. It was so packed there that I couldn't get a seat. I was right when you walk in through the media entrance. Bull, who's 7'3", was on my right.
Oh, wow.
Michael Porter Jr., who's 6'11", was on my left. Every single person around me, I'm 6'3", was about 6'6", 6'7", so I couldn't see a thing. And I was getting a little claustrophobic, so I walked out, got in my car, and I'm sitting in my car, and my car starts bouncing up and down like I have hydraulics on my vehicle.
Okay.
And I'm honestly thinking I'm hallucinating right there. And people are taking pictures of me while my car is bouncing up and down and of everything else. I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't actually feel it. My feet. I was in my car and I was bouncing up and down in my car.
That's wild.
It was
what I told Jason is under normal circumstances, like at the end of a date, that would normally be a good thing.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah,
maybe people thought because you got the windows tinted in that thing.
To
someone's getting busy.
And I said maybe it's 60-40, yes, no, but that was. I honestly thought I was on drugs. I really did.
Wow.
Well, maybe you were. Maybe you were. Maybe you're just not telling us something. I don't know. No, listen, Thursday, I was the 4th of July, I was in my apartment down the street here, and my whole apartment was shaking. I'd never experienced. You have experience with this stuff. I don't. So that was on the 4th, and that was a little scary. But then when you're in public, in a comedy club, or as you were, the Thomas and Mack Center, or you were in your car, that's just bizarre, man.
Man, I honestly thought, like, you know what, man, if something comes from the roof, I can see something happening. You know, when you envision something happening, like
hypothetically,
I hope it doesn't, but I was prepared for if something came from the ceiling of the Thomas and Mack. I wouldn't have been shocked.
I hate to think about things like this, but this is what I would have been thinking. Can you imagine if the Teletron up there fell, how many people would have lost their lives? I mean, I don't even want to think like that. I'm sure they did a great job, the engineering. I'm sure that's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, when you see that thing shaking like that, it's never been under that type of duress. That's the first thing that I'd be thinking of.
And that's why they stopped the game.
Right.
Because, I mean, they were confident that nothing was wrong with it.
And the commissioner called on them to make sure that the building was safe to continue the following day.
Exactly. Yeah. And you probably already know this as well, but the Aces had a game at that exact same time over at Mandalay Bay, and they stopped that game as well because, you know, they
was that game canceled?
At halftime.
It was canceled at half.
I didn't know that.
There was pictures of the floor, and the floor was crooked.
Was it really?
Yeah, it
at
was.
Mandalay Bay? Oh, my God.
The hardwood was crooked.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That is nuts.
So Brian, you've watched a lot of games, as have I. Player that has impressed you the most so far, and who do you think wins this thing?
Man, the whole wins this thing, I don't know which team is actually doing so well that may end up winning this thing. But one of the players that I really thought has been doing very well, and I can't remember his name, the guy from Purdue that was hitting all those
Carson Edwards.
Woo!
He can play.
He is with Boston. He is doing his thing. He's probably impressed me the most. Like, honestly.
Yeah. Carson Edwards as a second-round pick was an absolute joke. He was one of the best combo scoring guards at the college level in the last 10 years.
Man. Danny Ainge.
What he did in the NCAA tournament.
I'll tell you something, guys.
I think he averaged 35
and I agree.
Over a 3 or 4 game span.
I agree with you. When you normally you don't see a general manager sitting on the bench. Okay, Danny Ainge is sitting on the bench with the Boston Celtics. And this is what I think of when I see that. Okay, I think of, listen, he's been criticized for having a rough year last year, okay? He made some mistakes. He's done a fantastic job as a whole, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to work, okay? Usually when you see him in Vegas, he's wearing his golf apparel. He comes out here, he plays golf and does a little bit of recruiting. Or I guess, just looking at some of these college guys, I don't know if I'd call it recruiting, but I guess in a way it is. But the fact
scouting.
Scouting, exactly. But you see him sitting on the bench, and that's telling me that this man is going to work.
Yeah, usually GMs don't sit on the bench because you don't want GMs, trying to cook the team with the coach.
We were sitting next to Danny Ainge in a very, very famous ref. I can't think of his name during the tournament where Gonzaga lost to St. Mary's
at the Orleans.
At the Orleans, and Danny Ainge was watching the game that night that the Celtics were playing in on this little
on his laptop, and he was still wearing his golf outfit. So he loves coming out here to play golf.
I do agree. I think he made a big mistake with Kyrie Irving, and he knows it. Yes. I mean they were set up so well with that trade, and now they've got
chemistry.
They basically have 4 players who play the same position on Enes Kanter, which makes no sense at all. But as far as Summer League goes, nobody is touching the Celtics. They're winning it all.
Well,
Edwards is killing. Taco Charles is good.
Yeah, Taco Fall 7'7" with an 8-foot wingspan.
Taco's a big boy.
He did an autograph signing, and there was a line about 500 people long all the way around the arena.
See, I love hearing stories like that.
Yes.
I want to continue this conversation on the other side.
We
got Bryan Salmond from Channel 3 in studio. I also want to talk to him coming up about some of these NBA trades, acquisitions. This has been the nuttiest summer of that in free agency in the NBA that I can recall in our lifetime. And we'll also take your calls if you want to be a part of this conversation. What do you think about NBA Summer League? What do you think about your experiences of NBA Summer League? And what do you think about some of these trades that have been going on? We'll open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. We will take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Bryan Salmond from Channel 3. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.